You're ultimately never going to get to where you want to be if you don't know where you're going right now. If you don't know the person that you are becoming right now, you're never going to be able to truly become who you want to become. I say this because I feel like a lot of us have things in mind. We have goals in mind, visions in mind, ideas in mind for the kind of person that we see ourselves becoming in the future, we see ourselves wanting to become. But we're not aware of who we are right now. We're not truly aware of what we're doing right now. Because ultimately, you're not going to wake up one day and just be that person. You're not going to wake up one day and just instantly become that person that you've seen yourself become. You're going to have to do things now to become that person in the future. And so you can't become who you're not already becoming. I wish I thought about this more often. I wish I thought about this more often, and I wish I thought about this sooner. Because for so much of my life, I get so caught up in the now that I almost don't think ever about the future and about, not to say that you should always think about the future, you should always be present. But I, for so long, overlooked the idea and the vision that God had for me. And I'm just so focused on either my past, focusing on where I've slipped up, and focusing on the direction that I'm going in that might be away from the direction that I should be going in. And I'm too focused on these things rather than focusing on where God wants me to go. And ultimately, that's the path you need to focus on. When you can focus on that path, that will help you find all the things that will align to help you become where you need to be, become the person you need to be. And I say this to you all because maybe you're on the same kind of journey where you want more, you want to become someone more, you want to become someone that's better than the version of yourself that you previously were. And because you can see that, you're so focused on it. And I think whenever you're focused on it, it's easy to, maybe have a quick start in becoming that person and change all the things that you were doing previously and just kind of reform and transform your life in a sense. And then you get to a point where you're kind of stuck. You get to a point where you're very plateaued. And it's kind of hard to see where you're going because you're so focused on like all these things that's going on and all the things that you get caught up with that it just kind of suppresses the vision. It suppresses the things that you need to let go of. I know personally, when I get so caught up in the idea of just doing and doing all these things, it clouds my vision and it clouds me focusing on what I can right now to become the person that I want to be one day in the future. And ultimately, it's not really anything I can do with my own strength. My flesh is deceitful, my heart is deceitful, and I want to do a lot of things that honestly are going to keep me from becoming the person that I need to be in the future, the man that I want to become in the future. There's a lot of things that my heart does desire that I shouldn't give into, but I want to because that's who we are. That's the reality of things. That's who we are as human beings. We're sinful beings, and our heart desires evil, honestly. The things of this world, at least. It desires the things of this world, and obviously we just can't listen to our heart. We got to spend more time listening to God and not our heart because, that's what everyone tells you, which is kind of funny. That's what society tells you is follow your heart. Listen to your heart. Trust your heart. But bro, our hearts are freaking crazy, yo. Our hearts are not something we need to be putting our trust in. Our hearts are the ones that want to fall into lust. Our hearts are the ones that want to go out and drink on the weekends when we've told ourselves we're going to stop drinking. Our hearts are the ones that put these false images in our head that are away from what reality is. But people tell you to follow your heart. Now, there's always things in our life that we're passionate about, and there's things in our life that, we have goals and we want to pursue them. Maybe that comes from the heart, but ultimately, our hearts are deceitful, and our hearts are going to keep us from looking to God. When I look to God, my vision is clear. When I look to my heart, my vision is foggy, it's cloudy. And I try and create the vision that he has for me for myself. Not to say that you shouldn't have your own goals. I think it's good to have your own goals. I think it's good to have something you're working towards and have a purpose in life, because ultimately, if you don't have a purpose in life, what's the point of life? Life is meaningless. It's utterly, you're just existing. What's the point of just existing? And sometimes I catch myself trying to take matters into my own hands. That's when pride slips in. And that's when things tend to get out of hand and the vision can begin to crumble. But when your eyes are so fixed on God and so fixed on allowing him to transform you into the person that you want to become, your vision is way more clear. And a lot of these things will just kind of open up naturally. Naturally, you'll start to have a change of heart. And then it'll be a lot easier not to give in to the things of this world. It'll be a lot easier not to follow your evil heart, because your heart will start to change. It'll start to want to do better. It'll start to want to follow God. And that's the biggest thing for me that I've realized is all the things that seem pleasing and appealing to me that, I think would make me better, it can only get me so far. And I realized the thing that accelerates me far beyond anything I could ever imagine is when I set my eyes on the Lord. When my eyes are fixated on God, he gives me the strength and he gives me the clarity and the wisdom to be able to set myself up to become that person. And so the things that I'm doing right now are more glorifying to him. And when I can actively glorify him in all that I do, naturally, things are going to start aligning to the path that he has for me. I say that, and sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy to do that. It's not easy to seek that. It's something that we have to willingly seek every single day. We have to willingly pick up our cross and follow Jesus every single day. There's times when I don't feel like it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I feel like doing that every day. Absolutely not. But I have to remind myself that in order for me to be the man who God wants me to be the man who I want to be, who I see myself being in the future, I'm going to have to do that. And it's a commitment that you have to make to yourself every single day. Sometimes these thoughts creep in and I'm like, maybe it wouldn't be too bad. That seems kind of nice right now. Maybe I'll tempt it. Maybe I'll tempt myself. I'll flirt with it a little bit. But if I was to keep my mind fixated on the plan that God has for me, because most of these things that we desire, they're looking the other direction from God's plan, and they will keep us looking the other direction. But we can fixate our eyes on God and think, is this going to help me become who I want to become? Because again, it's not going to happen just randomly one day. The things that I do now are going to turn me into the person that I want to become in the future. I'm saying this because it's a lesson for me right now too. There's so much that I overlook because I'm not focused on who this is making me, what kind of person this is making me into. And I like to think that God has given me a gift of self-reflection. And I want to stress about the importance of self-reflection really quick, because I think whenever you're able to analyze all that you're doing, all that's going on in your life, the person that you really are, how people perceive you and how people view you, it can really help you gain a firm understanding of the kind of person that you are. And whenever you develop this understanding of who you are, your mind is kind of open to the possibilities of what you can do, and it's open to the things that you need to get rid of and let go of. Because ultimately, if I wasn't able to think about, if I wasn't able to analyze myself, right? If I wasn't able to visualize who I am and who I need to become, you can compare those two things. And sometimes for me, I listen, you have to be very open-minded. You have to be so open-minded to just observing what's going on around you and what people are saying about you and how people view you. I'm not saying that because you should always care what people think. You shouldn't really care what people think, but you should consider it. You should consider what people think. I think that's important. I think it's important to just observe. How do people perceive you? because that for me, that's a large part of how I know who I am, is because of how people perceive me. Because a lot of things that I've realized that I am, I never saw that in myself if it wasn't for people telling me that. If it wasn't for people telling me these things. And so you have to just be observant. You have to be so reflective of everything that's going on. And it's not always easy. But in order to do that, you got to just stay clear-headed, stay level-minded, stay sober. I realized there was a time when I was smoking weed a lot, and I thought that I could do both. I could follow God and smoke weed. And it's like, maybe you can, but is it going to help you run the race? No, it's going to slow you down, homie. It's going to slow you down. And it slowed me down a lot. And my mind was just far from clear. And so I wasn't able to analyze who I really am and whether I'm on the track God wants me to be on. But I say all this just because it's so important. It's really important, and we don't really think about it. And you have to be aware. And you've been given a gift of consciousness. You've been given a gift of your own mind. The ability to think. That's a gift. So why not use it? Why not utilize that? When you can utilize that, it will put you above so many people in this life, because so many people take it for granted. Why take for granted something that you've been blessed with? And that's just, that's the thing. We take so much in this life for granted. So to take your own mind for granted, I mean, come on. Which I did for so long. And that's why I'm telling you all this, because I've realized the importance of it in my own life. And it's been astronomically changing, if that even makes sense. But just in becoming the person that I want to become. It's been everything. And so that's kind of what I want to share with you all today. You can't become who you're not becoming. And you should try to think about that more. I think that'll really put things into perspective. So that's all I got for this video. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you on the next one.